5. Just last night, a friend hurried me out of the house to catch the opening act at a local bar's music night. After a few drinks, I realized, with a sinking feeling, that my phone wasn't in my pocket. Panic set in as I searched the table, the bar, the bathrooms. Nothing. I borrowed my friend's phone to call mine. After 2 rings, the call connected. A guttural, rasping laugh filled the line. Then it abruptly cut off. No one answered. When I called back, defeated, I went home. When I walked into my room, my phone was right there, on my nightstand, exactly where I had left it, waiting. Number 4. As a kid, I was always the last one picked up by the bus. One chilly morning, I was waiting alone, when an empty bus rolled up, smiled, but something about him felt wrong. He told me to get on, but his voice sent shivers down my spine. "Where are the other kids?" I asked, my voice trembling. "We'll pick them up later, just get in," he insisted, his voice growing more menacing. With each word, I stood my ground, refusing to board. He scowled and drove off. Minutes later, the real bus arrived. When I told my parents that night, their faces went pale. They made frantic phone calls, but the stranger bus was never found. Number 3. Years ago, I moved into a place that a friend had renovated, but couldn't sell. It seemed like a great deal, until I met the woman next door. She looked far older than her years. Hollow eyes, deep wrinkles etched into her face. Every night, she would blast religious radio shows, argue loudly with unseen voices. Sleep became impossible. So I knocked on her door, asking her to keep it down. When she cracked the door open, I caught a glimpse inside. Crosses covered every inch of the walls, painted in frenzied strokes. Words like Jesus and angels were scrawled over blackened windows. The air reeked of decay. The floors were slick with filth, cockroaches scattered. With every step, she had no pets, but the stench of feces was suffocating. That night, I woke to a figure, looming at my bedside, watching. For a moment, I thought it was a dream, until the figure spoke. It was her. "You should lock your doors," she hissed, then vanished into the dark. The next morning, I saw her outside, muttering in tongues, with a plastic bag in her hand. The bag swelled, with the unmistakable smell of rot. Inside was her dead dog, decomposing, in the sweltering heat. In a panic, I spoke to another neighbor, who was equally terrified. She had broken into his apartment too, standing silently behind him, with a power drill. As he watched TV with his kids, I called the police. They knew her well. She was dangerously unhinged, off her meds, but they couldn't enter her home without permission. So they waited. A few nights later, at 2 a.m., she left for a cigarette run. The cops swooped in. In less than a minute, she was gone. It was like she had never existed. But I still see her, in my nightmares, staring at me from the shadows. Number 2. I was minutes away from finishing my night shift when the sound of shattering glass echoed through the empty office. Someone had hurled a rock through one of the front windows. This would be strange anywhere, but in the dead silence of the industrial district at midnight, it was unnerving. I called security, but my nerves were shot. I sprinted to my car, got in, drove off as fast as I could. I didn't calm down until I was nearly home. Then I realized something chilling. I hadn't unlocked my car. It had been unlocked the whole time. My pulse quickened as I glanced into the back seat, fearing what might be lurking there, but it was empty. Later, still shaken, I rode my bike to meet a friend. The night was calm. I tried to relax as I pedaled through the quiet streets. Then out of nowhere, someone on a bike slowly crept up beside me, his smile stretched too wide, his eyes wild. I froze. As I recognized the bike, it was my mom's. I tore back home in a panic. When I arrived, my worst fear was confirmed. Her bike was gone, and one of my car doors, the back left one, was wide open. I had never opened that door. Number 1, I worked the graveyard shift at a remote campground, 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. most nights. I passed the time playing video games with nothing but the dark woods outside. My predecessor told me about a strange phone nearby that would ring every night. At precisely 4:17 a.m., he had never answered it. Chalked it up to some glitch. For months, I didn't hear it. with the windows closed to keep out the summer heat. But one night, I left them open, and there it was, the eerie, muffled ring. It was almost like it was coming from underwater. Curiosity got the better of me. I decided to answer it. Every night I would pick up, but there was nothing, just silence. Until one night in October, the silence broke. I answered the phone, as I had done many times before. At first, there was just dead air. Then, the sound of someone breathing, slow, strained, crackled through. A voice, rough like gravel scraping metal, whispered my full name. First, middle, last. It wasn't a voice I recognized. I slammed the phone down, immediately dialed 69. The call had come from California. I lived hundreds of miles away, in the middle of nowhere, Indiana.